This is Harry Home at the throttle of steam locomotive 6060. Harry's had a lifelong love affair with steam engines that began when he was a small boy. Harry's dad, Jack Home, was a steam engineer. Harry used to pester his father to let him ride in the cab, and he got his first ride at age 5.
Great experience, you know, for a kid 5 years old. You were probably the luckiest kid in town because you could go and tell all your buddies as you played marbles, hey, you know what I did? I rode with my old man. But I never called my old man. He was always my dad. So anyway, that in itself was a chance of a lifetime, sort of. And then, of course, to get up there on the engine and to be allowed to, with great brute strength that I thought I had to move this throttle, which, of course, I couldn't at all until I yanked and heaved, and the engine did move, was beyond belief. It was a thing that you just don't do, you know. So that was my first memory. But anyway, without making a long story short, and to be very honest, I had a girlfriend then, and I was, we were planning on getting married, and she wanted me to become a doctor, and she was going to become a nurse, but I'd sort of said yes, but I made up my mind right there, no more of this nonsense. I became an engineer right then.
Every chance Harry had, he'd ride the locomotives with his dad, especially if it meant getting out of school.
Oh, it was just like an escape from the confines of a smelly classroom, you know, the books and the teachers and the rulers and all those erasers. I mean, it was great to learn about the War of 1812 or whatever, but you became a free spirit when you departed on a train. And I've often thought since that how he ever put up with me is beyond my wildest comprehension, because I was always bugging him for a ride on the engine. And so I did ride a lot, and it was against railway rules, by the way, as it is now. As a matter of fact, I can remember once him telling one of his supervisors that if my kid wants to ride with me, he's going to, and that's the end of it, and that was the end of it, too. That was, in those days, the engineer was king, and his word was law, and that was his locomotive, and that was his domain.
The first time Harry laid eyes on Locomotive 6060, he was 12 years old. He was traveling east to attend a wedding. The train he was on changed locomotives at Nakina, Ontario, and the new engine was the 6060. Harry was smitten.
I remember thinking with great hope that someday maybe I'd be on that old, not that old girl, that great piece of machinery, and hey, look what's happened.
6060 was forged in the shops of the Montreal Locomotive Works in the early 40s. Her early working life was on the CN lines in eastern Canada. While 6060 toiled in the east, Harry Home was growing up in the west and realizing his dream to work on the railroad.
I think when I got called for my first trip firing on June the 17th, 1953, 1110 East on the 4303, holy smoke, was that a rare day. And I don't think there was anybody happier than my dad. He walked to work with me and the whole bit.
But the age of steam was giving way to the oncoming diesels. 6060 found herself in the realm of the obsolete. Steam locomotives were being cut up for scrap. Harry was working in Jasper. He didn't like the change to diesel engines.
I saw right away that they were going to be a total disappointment. And I think at that time I sort of thought, well, even so, I'm still going to stay railroading because I love to railroad, but it's not going to be the same. And I think that's when the idea first came to my mind that maybe I can get this engine, or an engine saved.
6060 had gained a temporary reprieve from the scrapyard. She was pulling excursion trains in eastern Canada, but eventually her name went back on the list of engines soon to be retired. Harry went to Montreal to ask the president of Canadian National if he could have the engine. The CN chief agreed and sold Harry the engine for $1. Harry brought her back to Alberta. He now had for his own the engine he'd fallen in love with so many years ago. He took her around the province. Every running mile was sheer delight.
We came around the curve at Elnor, I think it was, and there's a farmer had maybe 30 or 40 head of Guernseys or whatever. I'm not very good on terminology, but I know a cow when I see one anyway. And these were all cows, and he hit the whistle, and, you know, I don't think there was any milk in Alberta that day, be all cream and cheese, because that whole herd, they just right over the hill and crossed towards the fence. And that old farmer, he was waving, and he turned around. He didn't wave anymore. He took off after the damn cows.
For a while, 6060 went back to work pulling excursion trains. Then an arrangement was made to give her to the province of Alberta. She needed some work to continue to run, so 6060 was put into the shops of the Alberta Pioneer Railway near Edmonton. But her life was in peril. There were some who felt she should become a static display and never run again. Harry at this point is like her chief caretaker and guardian. He would never let her become a silent, forgotten monument, not his lady, so he bided his time and made his plans. His big dream was to restore her and run to Expo 86 in Vancouver to participate in Steam Expo with locomotives from around North America. The event would be kicked off by a grand parade of engines called the Cavalcade of Steam. Harry was going to be there. To bring her back to this condition, the provincial government would have to agree to the project and fund the repairs. Harry lobbied and waited. But back at the shops, his lady sat idle. He anxiously watched over her while valuable time slipped away. In December of '85, there were now 6 months to go before Steam Expo. Harry made a last-ditch stand to convince the government to make a decision. The government minister listened, left the room for a few minutes, the longest minutes in Harry's life. Then came the answer.
Tom Chambers walked in and he sat down. He said, "Well, Harry," he said, "go for it. We want you to fix that engine." I don't think I ever wanted to kiss a man in my life, but I damn near did him.
It's now January, 5 months to the Cavalcade and Steam Expo. Diesels come to pull 6060 out of the shops near Edmonton and tow her to Jasper to be worked on in the CN shops. Once in Jasper, she's taken apart. It's occasionally suggested to Harry that he's crazy to take on a project of this size.
Yeah, okay. I don't think I'm nuts, but I think I've got a dream, and it's a crazy dream. Yeah, okay. And it's got a lot of jam.
If they look at the good work you guys have done, they might let us go 10, eh?
His attitude is positive. Harry doesn't understand the words no and can't, and his enthusiasm is infectious.
Man, I can just see that old girl rolling down the track right now.
Volunteers from the town and across the province show up to lend a hand. Wade Williams is one of them. He's fallen for this lady locomotive.
I've kind of really fell in love with the girl. Never thought of it before, but till now I worked on it. You really get to enjoy machinery like this nowadays.
Harry is glad of all those who come by and lend a hand. But let there be no mistake. 6060 can have plenty of admirers, but in Harry's mind, she's his lady.
This is my locomotive, and I'm very proud of it. It belongs to the province of Alberta, but this is my ship, and I'm the captain, and, you know, I identify with it. And, yeah, I've got a great love for this machine.
It's now February, 4 months to the cavalcade. Harry is racing with time to get 6060 ready, but he's losing bit by bit. By mid-April, he's behind schedule. The dream is threatened. But Harry won't admit that, not even to himself.
Everybody's been saying to me for many years now that I'd never do what I've done. And I've done it, you know. So a lot of people are saying, hey, are you going to have it ready? And, oh, yeah, we'll do it.
The work crew pushes on. So does Harry.
Hey, John, let's put in this 1-inch flexi cap here.
Even at home, he's got pieces of the locomotive.
Look at the room full of goodies I got for the 6060. Here's her original number plate. Here's the provincial coat of arms. Here's the provincial shield. Some more shields here. We got the Alberta rose. And last but not least, have a look at this. Here's the Alberta flag, and it's going to fly up there by the smoke box. Everybody will know where this locomotive's from. Isn't this super? I better be careful with it. There.
There's a month to go until the day of the cavalcade.
Release, party.
The time is vanishing. Harry is pushing hard and wearing himself out.
I've lost my voice a bit, as you can see, and I've got a bit of a cold from probably too many long days and short nights. And I've got sore throat and I suppose just a little run down. Trying to burn the candle both ends.
One of the big jobs is re-bricking the firebox.
If we cut it back, run the wall right up to the burner button.
Al Broadfoot is a professional brought in to oversee the restoration of the locomotive.
Still under the burner.
And as hard as they all are working, unexpected delays and problems cause them to fall behind schedule.
Well, as far as making it to Expo, we'll be there. We're kind of a little behind time because a few things have propped up that have taken a little longer that we didn't anticipate. You're not going to be at the...
As time gets short, so do tempers. Harry's irrepressible cheerfulness fades a bit. He and Al sometimes have different ideas on how a problem should be solved. The atmosphere in the shops becomes tense.
We'll slant the bricks to the door.
Yeah, okay.
You'll have some of that left, but I'm concerned about it slobbering and running back through the engine.
Yeah, you're concerned about some rookie getting fire underneath.
You're going to have rookies because you're going to have to teach somebody.
Yeah.
It's early May, 3 weeks to Steam Expo and the cavalcade. Harry tries to keep a brave face, but he knows deep down inside that he's not going to be on time.
Well, I'm hurting a little because locomotive engineers, when they say they're going to arrive at a certain time or leave at a certain time, they always do within as close as they can. And I've miscalculated. I guess that's not the word. I'm late.
The day of the cavalcade arrives. Harry and 6060 are still in Jasper. It's a bitter disappointment.
I didn't realize I was that emotional person, but I got a little damp in the corner of the eyes thinking, hey, I'm not there. My engine's not there, you know.
It's still possible to make it before the end of Steam Expo. The crew carries on. 7 days to go. It's time for a critical test. It's called a squeeze. 6060 is filled with water, and the water put under pressure. Any leaks in her construction will show up if water seeps through.
110.
There's no time to take her apart again. If she fails this test, there's no run to Expo.
Tight as a drum. Not a drop. Imagine that, eh?
Miller time now.
Was that last... Pip, that was the last bit of tightening we did. That cinched her, eh?
She passes the test. Now they can finish. The rods are slowly lifted to the side of the locomotive. They'll attach to the giant driving wheels. The cab is given a coat of fresh green paint. And insulation is strapped around the boiler. The crew works far into the night. In the dark, she's pulled outside for final work. The next morning is Harry's 53rd birthday, and the crew have prepared a little surprise for him.
Well, thank you. Happy birthday, Harry.
5 days now to the end of Steam Expo. Today they try lighting her up. If all goes well, tomorrow they head for Vancouver.
Listen, there she goes. Listen. I got her.
She's alive here.
Yeah, she's alive. Albert, it looks good now.
She's okay. They leave tomorrow. Early in the morning, Harry gets a call from the dispatcher, giving him his departure time.
Yes, hello? Well, hello, Grant. That's the best news I've had in 31 years. I shall be there with bells on. Yeah, you bet. Not 600. Bye-bye. How about that? Great, great, great.
In spite of his eagerness to get down to the shops, Harry gets dressed very calmly and deliberately. He picks up his engineer's watch, one he's had since he was a small boy, and clips it to his overalls. You can't buy work clothes exactly like these anymore. They're from the days of steam. They belonged to Harry's dad. Jack Home died unexpectedly one day just before going to work. These clothes had been carefully set out for him to wear. Harry has saved them especially for this day. Down at the yards, his lady is waiting. 6060 is flying white flags. The big Alberta flags will have to wait until closer to Vancouver. The white ones indicate that this is a special train.
Okay, let's go.
Led by a piper, 6060 moves slowly away from the shops. This is an unexpected honor, especially as the piper is one of Harry's fellow engineers.
Extra 6060 west. God, I thought I'd never see it.
Harry gets his orders, telling him his route and running times. Engineer Cal Elliott is ready to go. He'll spell Harry at the controls.
I'll be the fireman for the first half of the trip from Jasper to Blue River, and hopefully if I can get Harry out of the seat, maybe I can run it halfway.
Right on. Way to go, girl.
Then the moment comes. Harry's at the throttle, and his lady is on her way.
I saw people and activity and nothing but pure joy in everybody's eyes. And my eyes got a little damp on those, I'll tell you, even tell them too, because it was an emotional experience. It was the impossible dream I dreamed had come true, and I was really felt very humble and very thankful.
805.
Harry pulls out of Jasper with 10 Alberta Heritage Fund grain cars strung out behind him. He has 530 miles of steel rail in front of him, and he knows he'll love every single mile.
6060 high ball. High ball.
I think this is one of the appeals to a railroad man, is that once we leave town, you're sort of on your own. You're your own boss, and it's your own train, and you do your thing. And it's really great. It's an experience that is pretty hard to describe in words. But you're out there on your own. You're sort of challenging the mountains, the grades, the whole panorama of railroading.
Make it to Kamloops and stop overnight. There's a crowd waiting for him, and this group. Harry used to live here. He played with these guys, the Kamloops Rube Band. Harry was trombone.
you. I didn't know you were an RCMP. Thank you, guys. I got to get my membership renewed. I forgot that E flat again. You know why we were late, Bill? No. Had to wait for the CPR. Overwhelmed with all the people that are here. And like seeing Bill Kennischuk and Vern Spear and all my family's here, all my sister and my brother, or my nephew just back from Great Britain, so, but the Rube Band, hey. That's right. Those guys sounded great, and to get that old trombone, and I went and forgot E flat again, like I always do. But it's been super.
Next morning, they load up with fuel oil, Bunker C. But there was a bit of a spill.
What's he got a club for?
And when the time comes to pull out, the drivers slip. There are now only 3 days left of Steam Expo, and Harry's only halfway there. Things are going well, but the crew and the engine have to endure tremendous heat from the firebox.
How you doing? All right?
Personally, I was so hot and sweated so much that my clothes were soaked to the point where my chain rusted. And it still got rust on it. And that gives you an idea of the heat. It was absolutely overwhelming.
The morning of the second to last day of Steam Expo. And this is the last leg of the journey into Vancouver. At Steam Expo, hundreds are patiently waiting for Harry and his lady from the past.
And we were there at precisely 11 o'clock. That was the only time in this whole trip from here to Vancouver on time, by the way. So anyway, we round the corner, and here were 2 rows of steam locomotives, and as we got closer, they all started blowing their whistles. And everybody wanted to talk at once. It was, you know, hey, it's happening, we're here. And all these locomotives still blowing their whistles. What an experience. But what really finished me off, if you can say it that way, was a little girl. She came up and handed me a bouquet of flowers. And I didn't know what to do. I've never been given flowers before. I have no reason to be getting flowers. You know, I thought to myself, well, hey, I'm not retiring, and I'm certainly not the Princess of Wales, by the way, or whatever it is you're supposed to say. Again, you know, you think back, I wonder what my old man would have thought of this. He'd have said, well, look at this crazy kid of mine. What's he done now? You know, I have the feeling that somewhere up there, he's looking in on what I've done and said, hey, this is a great thing you're doing. He lives with me. In my mind, you know, I'm his son, and I'm very proud of it. I mean, I don't understand the word no, and I'm damned if I will. It gives you a chance to contribute yourself. And I suppose, again, you've got to go back to Jack Home. The example he set for his son, I thought, well, if he can do that, and if he can set that sort of burning desire in me, maybe I can pass it on. Well, hello, Jeffrey. How are you?
Fine.
Can I see your drawing? Boy, have you ever been busy. Hey, that's a pretty neat steam engine. No tender, but you haven't got any room on the paper. Hey, can I help you with one little thing? Now, let's see if I can do this. 6, 0, 6, 0. Jeffrey, you probably could have done better than me.